Y'all know I don't like to be late. Happy Sunday. Happy, where has she been? Where have y'all been? Happy October 15th. How are we already in the middle of October? Hi, I am Coach Yolanda, spiritual life coach Yolanda, owner of Evolving Spirit Wellness. This is the year of the inner child, and this is our mama meditations, meditation in the way that your mama might do, because it's very informal, off the cuff, and unexpected. Y'all have no idea what is going on in the background for me to try to get on here today. I missed Wednesday. I missed last Sunday. There seemed, if you were watching, what was it, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, when I said that I was resistant to this particular developmental stage, I really believe it's because of my resistance. All of these things keep popping up. I'm like, what is going on? Why would things be happening the way that they are happening and making it seem as though I don't want to do this developmental stage? I said I was resistant because this is the developmental age that I am currently in, that many of us are currently in, and I didn't know how it was going to look or how it was going to feel. And so that resistance has led to, is it 2 or 3 missed sessions? Technical difficulties. I couldn't get on one Sunday. And then I was like, all right, well, let's do it Wednesday. Wednesday came and I had to go get my grand pup. Just all of these things were getting in the way. And I was like, you said it. You declared it. You said you were resistant. And whether we are consciously aware of what our declarations can do, they will disrupt the flow. And so I'm grateful that we are here today. I know when we miss particular things, our rhythm can be off. So I ask that you give me some grace and some patience and everything else that you can give. I know you're going to give me love because I always feel love when we meet in this space, but I'm definitely going to need some grace today um, as we talk about this developmental stage. Now, I happen to be, I would say, not even in the middle. I'm in the thick of it. I'm in the thick of that 35 to 65-year age range. Now, 35 feels like a lifetime ago, and 65 is on the horizon. But I can remember lessons. I can remember trials and tribulations from my mid 30s, 40s. And now that I'm in my early 50s, I am seeing life differently. And so, as I said 2 to 3 weeks ago, this developmental stage has been the most challenging for me. And I say that only with the memory of it being present. I can't really speak about the previous developmental stages in the way that I can speak about this one because this is where I'm at. I know that there are bits or pieces from my past that will forever be a memory for me. Um, but for me to say this is the most difficult may not necessarily be true because I may not have the the feelings that I had when I was younger, if that makes sense. But as many of us are in this developmental stage, many of my peers, I love being around younger people. I love being around my elders. So this developmental stage for all of us who are presently living this experience, it teaches you a lot. This is the time when many things in our life that we thought we knew were true, we see it from a different perspective. Um, if you did particular things when you were younger, thinking that they were going to last, only to find out that that's not the case, things being revealed, as we get older and we have more life experience, we can see things with a different perspective and we start to, have a different belief system. Hopefully, we have a different belief system. Whether we are emotionally mature enough to deal with it or not, we are faced with life experiences that require us to mature, sometimes before we're ready. Certainly, if you are in this age range, death becomes more of a reality to you. And whether you are ready to face it, whether it is your own or someone else's, the truth is you don't know until you are going through it who you really are. You don't know until you are in the experience what you're going to have to call upon, what you're going to have to create, what you're going to have to hold on to. And so today we're talking about truth and faith because for this developmental stage, those two are as real can get. When you have lived a particular amount of life and you have experienced things in those life, you better know what your truth is and you better know where your faith lies because those two things become the anchor, so to speak, or the foundation on when you where you will have to stand. Marriages may fall apart, children may go astray, jobs may come to an end, so many different things. People are retiring in this age range and coming to the end of a lot of things. There are a lot of endings in the life experiences that we go through in this developmental stage. And so truth and faith are going to be like the bookends that will keep you up, keep you standing upright when you don't have anything else to support you or guide you. And the interesting thing about truth and faith is you need both of them to support your truth. You need faith to support your truth, and you need truth to support your faith. And sometimes they can be at odds. Particularly when you have lived a life believing one thing, then the truth is revealed, your faith can be shaken. And when faith is all you have, you may not be believing the truth. Or if you're believing the truth, your faith may waver. And so, for those of us who have had a particular life experience where things are being revealed to us that we just knew the truth, we thought we knew who we were, what we were doing. We thought that the plans that we had made and created in our life were going to afford us a particular lifestyle or particular conveniences or just comfort, only to learn that the promise that we thought we could rely on may not have been kept. And that can be in your professional life, your personal life, your family, your friends. When things are start to revealed, this age range can be a whole beginning of a revelation of a lot of things. Revealing things start to unfold. You see yourself differently, hopefully. You see yourself in a new light. You see other people in a new light. Those of us who have spent a lot of time, money, blood, sweat, tears, and poured into particular things only to realize that the return of our investment is not what we thought it was going to be. That can be so disheartening that it shakes your faith and it shakes what you knew to be the truth. And so I want to read from the New Thought um, dictionary. I don't know where my glasses are, y'all. I got 3 pairs of glasses. Don't know where any of them are. But I think it's important for us to define for this conversation what do we mean by truth and what do we mean by faith. Before I do that, let me start with some thank yous. Let me give out some gratitude. Whether you are watching live or watching the replay, and I can understand for those of you watching the replay, you didn't know if I was coming on today or not because I didn't even create the schedule for today until early this morning because even I was uncertain. I'm like, look, I have tried to schedule this live 3 times and something keeps getting in the way. Is this the universe's way of saying that I shouldn't do this, that I should do something else? Unless that is proven to be true, I'm going to show up because I have a commitment saying that I signified this the year of the inner child. I have a commitment to see this all the way through. Many of you have reached out to me either during the lives or after the lives to say how this is supportive to you. So I feel responsible to continue these conversations, even if it feels like a difficult conversation for me personally. I know that there is healing within having the conversation. And so for us to define truth and faith for the hour or so that we're going to be together, I want to read from the New Thought Dictionary that says truth in its universal sense. The truth means God, spirit, reality. In a lesser sense, the word truth designates anything that is true: a psychological truth, a spiritual truth, a physical truth, meaning something tangible. So when we are talking about what the truth is for us, what the truth is for you, we're not talking about our personal opinion. We're talking about facts that can be proven as truth. Hey, love. How are you? So, things that can be proven as truth. Those are the things that sometimes as we get older, we see from a different perspective and things are revealed. For instance, there are many of us that believe that when two people stand before God and say vows, that the truth is love is going to be enough to sustain that relationship from the beginning to the end. As you get older and you get more life experience, you recognize that that may not necessarily be the truth, that there are other things that are necessary and required for that covenant to remain. And that's why I said this age range is where we see a lot of individuals who may, be ending relationships that they just knew were going to be sustainable, ending family ties that they just knew were going to, stay the test of time, ending careers, whether it's your personal choice to do so or not. Doesn't mean that it's just still not difficult. For those of us who are getting ready to retire or who have already retired, even though it was your decision to do so, doesn't mean that it was an easy decision. You've done this particular thing for a significant amount of your life, and now you've got to do something else. It is a joyous occasion, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't come with some new truth. Who are you now without the thing? That's a question that we will ask ourselves over and over in this developmental stage. Who am I? Who have I become? Who am I now versus who I thought I was going to be? For those of us who are transitioning in your relationship, doesn't mean that it's ending, but it might be transitioning. The older we get and we're unable to do particular things, the dynamics of our relationships with our friends, our family might change. You may not get together as much as you used to. You may not believe the same things that you used to about particular people, because we all change as we age and we get set in our ways. And so these revealing things start to happen where you now see things differently. What was true for you before may not be true for you now, because you're different and because we're all changing and becoming different people. And so those tangible things that we used to be able to rely on, when we say, I don't know what happened to such and such. They used to be this, and now they're doing something else. I've experienced that within my friend group as our roles have changed. We were mothers of babies, and then we're mothers of teenagers, and now we're mothers of young adults. And so motherhood looks different, and the truth of motherhood looks different. We may not like our adult children all the time. We have this belief that, they're ours and we've raised them to be particular people, but then they go off and they become the people that they decide that they want to be. And so the truth that we held may look different. So when we think about the psychological, spiritual, those tangible physical truths, those can change, but there are components of truth that have to be there for it to be true for you. You got to believe it. I don't know that I've ever met anyone, well, maybe I have, who believes something and they believe it to be true, but they don't really have their heart in it. You know what I mean? It's like if somebody asks you, do you believe in aliens? And you're like, sure. Well, there's something about you that has to hold that belief. You can't just say, yeah, you believe in it because everybody else does. Because if you do, then that makes you a follower. There has to be something within your belief system, something that you've seen, tangible that you've seen, that would make you believe that that could be true. You have to know it, and it has to be something that you practice. What they say, practice what you preach. If you have a belief system, and we all do, whether we whether we consciously believe that we do or not. We all believe that if we get in our car and we turn the key, if there is gas in it, it should start. And that car should be able to take us from point A to point B. And we believe that we're going to, arrive there safely. If we do everything that we are supposed to do, then we should arrive there safely. But there are a whole host of variables that could disrupt that belief. Somebody else could be driving crazy. Somebody could have, God forbid, somebody could have done something to your car that you're unaware of. So, your belief system and what you believe to be true, there has to be some knowing. I know I put gas in the car. I know I've gotten regular maintenance. I know how to get there. I know how to get back. I know the rules of the road. So, I believe that I will arrive there safely. Part of that belief may also have some faith in it. So let me read the definition from the New Thought Dictionary on faith. Belief in the impossible from an objective viewpoint. Unconditioned acceptance that there is an invisible intelligence. I love that word. Invisible intelligence which guides, and an invisible law which controls, in the complete belief that it is now doing so in one's life. So faith may not be something tangible. Faith may be that knowing, that belief, that understanding that there is an invisible intelligence, whether you call it God, whether you call it whatever name you call it by, there is just some invisible intelligence that is guiding us, that says this thing is going to be. It's going to be so. I don't need to see it. I don't need to see a movie of it. I don't need to read a book about it. I just have this knowing within me, this faith, this belief, this thing that I practice. And one thing about truth and one thing about faith, if you are not actively practicing both of those things, they can waver like that. And what I mean by that is, how do you practice truth? I practice truth by believing things until I am shown otherwise. Like a scientist. A scientist says, you know what, I believe this to be true, and I'm going to try it out again and again and again and again and again. And if I get the same result, then that can be an absolute truth that no one can really, argue against. We all have things that we know to be true until it is proven otherwise. It's a truth, it's a belief, and I'm going to practice that truth by living my life in a particular way, by having some core beliefs in my life. These are my truths. And until somebody else comes along and says, Yolanda, you've been doing that thing wrong, or you've been thinking about that thing wrong, or your perspective is skewed, I'm actively practicing what my truth is. So if I believe, using my analogy earlier, that if I get in my car and I go from point A to point B because I've done it over and over and over a million times, what would make anything challenge my belief? Maybe if the car started acting up. Now my perspective is different. Maybe if there's a lot of traffic and I see people driving crazy, that may alter my perspective in what I believe to be true. All of those variables that I don't control could be the reason why I see my truth differently. But if I am not actively practicing, believing, and knowing what is true for me, then I could be challenged like that. It's like people who don't really have a belief system, a core value system. If you don't have one, then anybody can come along and tell you anything and sell you anything, and you will be easily led astray time after time after time. That happens so often when we're younger because we may not have developed a belief system. We may not have developed a core value system. We just kind of like a, plastic bag blowing in the wind. Somebody says this sounds good, you over here. Somebody says that sounds good, you're over there. When you get to this age range, when you have lived a little bit, it's going to take a lot more convincing for you to change my truth, or the truth as I see it, what I have believed in my mind, what I know in my spirit, and what I have evidence for. It's going to take a lot. And so a lot of times when we are in our peer groups, we may not always believe or have the same core beliefs or have the same truths, but there's something that connects us, right? There's some variable that connects us. I don't have to believe everything that my friends and my family believe, but there's some core thing that connects all of us. I would like to believe that it's love. I would really like to believe that it is love that connects us and holds us. We may not see things the same way. We may not celebrate or experience life in the same way, but there's that core belief that I love you because not because of what you do for me, but because of who you are. You're human just as I am human. And I hope that that is a truth that most of us have a belief in, that we can love anyone if we practice it, if we believe it, if we know it as something that we want to do. Now, where faith comes in, I think that can be more challenging because, again, it's this invisible thing that we, cannot see, cannot touch. It's not really based upon past experience. Because let me tell you something, if you continue to love yourself and others, knowing what you know about yourself and knowing what you know about others, you know that's built on faith. Because if we would only base how we interact with each other based upon past experiences, we probably wouldn't interact with each other at all. Faith is that thing that keeps us going, keeps us wanting to be in love, to be in communication, to be in community. I have the faith that it may not look the way that I want it to look, but I have faith and I have this invisible intelligence that says there is a knowing in my being and there is a spiritual knowing. It's not something tangible. You don't have to prove who you are to me. There's just this thing that is within all of us that I call faith. Faith in humanity, faith in the creator placing something within all of us that can change in an instant. Those things that we think are impossible, faith will tell you all things are possible. Even the most hardest, you know, character people that we might know still have the capacity to love. Right now there are so many things going on in the world where people are hurting and harming one another, and there's still this faith that peace will prevail. If we don't have faith, what do we have? We have despair, we have disappointment that we all would live with and lead with. Imagine if you were living in existence, and I do know some individuals that do. Imagine if you were living in existence where there was faith was not even a possibility, not even in your belief system, and that everything that you did, somebody had to prove to you that it was possible. How do you get things done if you don't have the faith? How do you get things done in your life if there's not this invisible intelligence within you and around you and a belief that everything's going to be all right or everything is going to work the way that it is designed to work? Would you show up to the doctor's office not knowing what is going to happen? How many of us think we know everything that's going to happen? I used to be that way, like predicting things. I know if I do this and I do that, then this is going to happen. Just creating all this chaos that hasn't even happened anywhere else but in my mind. And then also thinking that it's the truth. It just happened to me. So, my beloved and I, there was a day last week where we didn't see each other and we didn't really get to talk to one another. So, in my mind, I'm like, this is going on, that's going on. Oh my gosh, what do I do? Just creating these scenarios that aren't built upon any truth whatsoever. No truth. There was no previous evidence. There wasn't anything that would even make me think that all of these things that I created in my head were true. But I was putting all of my time and my energy towards it instead of the faith that says, you may not know what's going on. And if you're going to believe something, why does it have to be the worst thing? Why can't it be the most amazing thing? Only to find out that it was the most amazing thing. We do that so often. Hey, Giselle. Happy Sunday. Yes, we are family. When you get to be a particular age in your life, and it was the most fabulous thing. But why, that is something that we learn from our childhood, that if we're going to create a story, it's going to be one with a horrible ending and all of these horrific things are happening. Some of that is based upon the truth of the experiences that we may have had in the past. But we, as we get older and more experienced in life, have got to start making choices that says, you know what? I'm going to put my energy, my belief, I'm going to put my focus on that invisible intelligence that all things are working the way that they are supposed to. I can't tell you how much easier that is for your nervous system, how much easier that is for your thought process, how much easier that is for your mental, emotional, and physical health to lean more on the faith that all things are happening as they are designed to happen instead of the truth that we would like to create in our minds. Because somewhere in the middle of all of that is a big old ego. A big old ego. So when we are creating truth in our mind and the ego is involved, we might deny particular things, we might romanticize particular things. That also happens where the whole house is falling down and in our mind we're like, this is not looking the way that I think that it is looking. I'm going to look at it from a different perspective where everything is just, sunshine and rainbows, and meanwhile things are happening right in front of you, but you have decided to romanticize everything. That's not truth. So sometimes we deny things because that is denying when we want to romanticize, but that's our ego that wants to put us in denial that the thing that we are seeing and happening right in front of us is not happening right in front of us. So when your ego gets in the way of the truth and when your ego gets in the way of your faith, you will not see things clearly. You are not seeing the truth. You are not relying on your faith. And so faith isn't seeing everything as sunshine and rainbows, but faith is that belief that even in the midst of my chaos, there is something for me to see and hear that I needed to see and hear. I have to believe that. And it is my responsibility. It is all of our responsibility to not allow our minds to create doom and gloom, not just for us, but for other people, but to really use our discernment, to really use that intelligence that is within all of us, to take a pause and to say, wait a minute, am I believing something because I want a particular outcome to be, what I'm used to? Or am I going to be silent so that I can listen to what the truth really is? So, and I've asked this before, what is your relationship with truth and what is your relationship with faith? If your truth has to have 20 million examples before you believe it, then that's something you may have to work on. If something is right in front of your face and you just refuse to see the truth of it, that may be because of experiences in your past, in your childhood, where you never developed the skill to learn what the truth is. Years ago, I used to have a family daycare with a bunch of different children that, came and went and came and went. And it was always interesting to me, the dynamics that parents would have with their children. And I had one particular child who I gathered it was easier for their parent to make everything a fantasy and imaginative play. I just gathered that was just an easier way for them to parent instead of the truth. And so there would be times when the child was with me where I couldn't really have a rational conversation because everything was about fantasy. This child's life, everything was about fantasy. There really was no truth. And I mean, time to take a nap. Well, I can't take a nap because then the fairies are going to come and do, XYZ. And I'd be like, what are you talking about? Everything had this imaginative fantasy play going on, and I knew that this child was going to have a challenge, was going to be challenged with me, because I believe that children should be taught the truth. I believe children should be talked to like they have common sense, because they do. I mean, there is a time and a place for imagination and all of those things, but when you are developing skills that are going to take you throughout life, you need to know what the truth is, how to recognize the truth, how to know when you are telling the truth, and how to know when you are hearing the truth. And so there was always an issue with this particular child because nothing was real. Everything was about a fantasy. When we would talk about people in the community, there was nothing that was real to this child. We would talk about police officers or firefighters. This child had no idea what those type of people were, because for them, everything was a princess, a prince. It was big. It was big in her life, and I see it now with the children that I work with, who are challenged with recognizing what the truth is, how to tell the truth, when the truth is being told to them, when it's time to play, when it's time to be serious, just real challenge when knowing when things are appropriate, when things are inappropriate. And I don't think that any child is too young or not intelligent enough to have that type of lesson, because again, the foundation of something that is going to be a lifelong lesson needs to be developed. It needs to be introduced and developed. And so if you as an adult still fantasize, romanticize when the truth is staring you in the face, you might want to take a look back at your childhood to see, what is your relationship with truth? Did people in your life tell you the truth? Were things hidden from you? And in my work as a spiritual life coach, I have worked with a lot of individuals who learned later in life about family truths because no one was willing to tell them the truth when they were younger. I think if you are paying attention, I think it was Kerry Washington that just learned the truth that she was conceived from a donor. Can you imagine living your whole life, or living a significant amount of your life thinking one thing, having one thing as your truth, only for something else to be revealed? That probably, and she has said it made sense because she never really felt connected in a way to both of her parents. But could you imagine what that information could have been for her when she was younger and probably needed it most? And so the 35 to 65 years of age, sometimes it's through snooping, sometimes it's through conversation. A lot of things are revealed, or we get to an age when we start to see things differently. And family secrets are one of those things when the truth is revealed, it can create so much chaos, because the thought is, why did you keep this from me? Did you not think I was smart enough? Did you not think it was important enough? Did you not know that I was needing something and I didn't even know what it was? But here was the truth. And if the truth had been revealed, then perhaps I may have been able to handle my life in a different way. So ask yourself, what is your relationship with truth? Did you have an experience where the people in your life kept things from you or didn't allow you to see the truth of things? I know now, as an adult, that my challenges with money are because my parents never revealed the truth about money when I was younger. We never talked about bills. We never talked about how much things cost. And so when I was younger, I would just ask for things. I didn't know how much my mother made. I didn't know how much my father made. My dad, had retired from the military. So in my mind, that man had a lot of money. He didn't even work. Sometimes he did, sometimes he didn't. So I had no concept of the value of things and what things cost, because that truth was never shown to me until I got older and started to realize how much things cost. And I'm like, well, how are y'all paying for stuff? because those jokers had a bunch of credit cards. So no one really exposed to me the truth about financial health and wellness. That's something I had to learn on my own. And so my truth with money isn't always the absolute truth or the psychological truth, as the dictionary says. So we have to think about what is our relationship with truth at this point in time in your life. No matter how old you are you comfortable with the truth being told to you, being revealed to you, even if it may hurt your feelings? Because some of us avoid the truth because we haven't had the skill developed within us to accept the truth. And when I was talking about the young person that I used to care for, the older that child got, the more difficult it was for them to hear the word no because they had never heard it. The more challenging it was for them to be disappointed when they did not get their way, when things did not go the way that they in their fantasy mind, how things were supposed to go, the more challenged they were in accepting the truth. We talk a lot about participation trophies that kids get. Like everybody gets a trophy as long as they showed up, because we don't want kids to feel bad. But that's truth. That's the truth of life. You are not always going to win. You are not always going to get your way. Things are not always going to go in your favor. And how do you develop the skill when that happens? How do you develop the skill of knowing when things don't go your way? If you had an experience in your childhood where the truth was never revealed to you, it was always hidden, or somebody was always, creating a soft place for you to land, you might be an adult who still does not have a great relationship with the truth. So when things don't work well for you or you don't get your way, your response is, remember we were talking about the ego, your response is so out of left field that other people are now looking at you crazy, not recognizing that person doesn't have a great relationship with the truth. They need things spoon fed to them. When you think about your relationship with the truth, how willing are you in your present day life to tell people the truth? Do you feel like you always got to create a story, which is a lie? Do you feel like you withhold information because you think other people are not ready to hear it, or you're not ready to deliver it? Think about your relationship with truth, because it also correlates with your relationship with faith. Because if you are the type of person that has to wrap everything in bubble wrap before you deliver news, information, how strong is your faith that all things are going to work out? Why is it that we create in our minds, well, I don't want to tell this person something? As a matter of fact, my beloved and I, we were just laughing about that. There was something that he did, which I still think is funny. And he didn't know how to tell me because he felt bad. And so it's like, well, but why would you keep it? What I think is funny about it is the fact that he would keep it from me, because it wasn't a big thing, but it was a big thing for him. But I'm also thinking, well, if you were going to withhold that, what else would you be willing to withhold? Because you think I may respond in an angry way. I can hear the truth because I've had so many truthful things that I probably didn't want to hear and didn't want to experience, but yet here they were. Here they are in my life. And so I can say at this point in time in my life, I have a great relationship with the truth, because the truth has knocked me on my behind more than once. More than once. And I have had to learn, how do I accept a truth that I can't change? How do I accept something that, even though it hurts me greatly, there's nothing that I can do to change it? And I can tell you the only reason why the truth is something that I can accept is because of my faith. Those two for me go hand in hand. I can't have a core belief in something if I also don't believe in that invisible intelligence that is guiding me. I have to. I would love to be able to say that my truth and my faith are equal at times, but sometimes I'm operating on pure faith because I don't see no truth. And sometimes I'm operating on pure truth and the faith is just going to have to catch up. I would love to be able to say those two are balanced and that they have a healthy relationship with each other in my life. I am human and it's not always so. But at this age range, we better get a healthy relationship with our truth and our faith because how else are you going to make it? How else are you going to get through the day to day things that you don't have any control over if you don't have a healthy relationship with faith and a healthy relationship with truth? And so, one of the questions that I sometimes ask myself is how strong is your belief muscle? How strong is your belief muscle? And belief is not just a mental and emotional experience, it's a physical experience. Do I believe my body when it is telling me something? Do I believe my mind when I'm thinking something? Do I believe my feelings when I'm feeling something? Do I believe what other people are saying, feeling, doing? Where is my belief anchored in? Is it in external things? So if everybody is doing something, am I going to believe it to be true or is it just true for them? How strong is the foundation that I have in my mind, in my heart, in my spirit so that I don't waver? And as the definition said for truth, it's knowledge, it's wisdom. It is an understanding that whew, my beliefs can change at any moment if I'm presented with different information. But in the universal sense, truth means God, spirit, and reality. Those three things for me, and I hope for you, are the same. So if I see something, even if I don't understand it, for instance, somebody harming a child, even if I don't understand it, I know it to be true. I know it's something that happens. It's something that I pray doesn't happen, but I know it happens. It is a truth that unfortunately we are in a time, in a place where people could be presented facts and figures and still be in disbelief. No, that doesn't happen. Or that never happens. Or what I like to say, just because it's not your experience doesn't mean that it's not someone else's experience. I see that all the time on social media. Somebody will post a video or say something, and then here comes someone. That doesn't happen because it never happened to me. Just because it didn't happen to you doesn't mean that it's not someone else's truth. And where do we get off disbelieving when someone else says, this is what happened to me, or this is what I experienced? Unless there are, compelling evidence that what they're saying is a lie, how do we get to tell someone their life experience is not their truth? And so I've taken the stance that I'm going to believe what you say until it's been proven otherwise. Some of us might be leading with, I don't believe anybody until you prove it to me. And that might be your relationship with truth. Do you tell that to yourself? Do you not believe in yourself? Is your belief muscle that weak where you just don't believe anything because of the things that you've experienced in your past? What is your relationship with your faith muscle? Because faith requires you to believe. And if you don't have a strong belief in the things that you can't see, how do you have a strong belief in the things that you can? I have to believe. If truth is God, spirit, and the reality, then I have to believe that what I'm seeing for a reason. What I'm hearing for a reason. What I'm experiencing for a reason. And I have faith enough to recognize that all things will be revealed in perfect and divine timing. This age has shown me that the things that I thought I knew or the things that I've created in my mind can be disproven. And if I have a weak belief muscle, I could be blown away like the wind. Within this age range, I have experienced, let's see, divorce, the death of my parents, the death of a child, financial instability, and so many other things that I can't even name right now, health issues. If I didn't have a strong belief muscle in something, those things would have washed me away a long time ago. And so, if there are any one of us who are feeling right now, well, I don't know what to believe in, the world is in turmoil, my life is in chaos, I'm not quite sure what I'm doing, where I'm going, that might be a divine opportunity for you to develop the belief muscle, the strengthening up your belief in what you believe to be true and what you believe and how you hold your faith. And how do we work on that? Like we work on anything else. It takes practice. It takes practice. To strengthen your belief in anything takes practice. Practice in trusting. Are you trusting yourselves? Are you trusting other people? Are you trusting that the path that you are on is exactly where you need to be for you to see exactly what you need to see, for you to learn exactly what you need to learn? Or are you always changing course every 2 seconds because things are uncomfortable, or I don't like what I'm feeling, or I don't like the people who I'm meeting? Are you running from this thing to that thing? Are you practicing? What is your spiritual practice? Are you praying? Are you meditating? Are you consistently focused on doing something and completing it to where you are building up your belief muscle, your belief in yourself and other things? If you are the type of person, and I believe I have called myself and others out before, that starts something and never finishes, you might want to look at your relationship with truth and faith. Why are you not finishing things? Why are you starting something, then getting bored with it, and then jumping to something else? Why are you not completing a process? Why are you not finishing tasks that meant so much to you at that time, but now all of a sudden it's wavered? Maybe the truth is you never developed the skill on how to begin, finish anything. Or maybe you didn't get the reinforcement that you needed, the positive reinforcement that you needed when you were younger. So completing things really doesn't mean anything to you. If you're not putting your heart and your soul into things that have a beginning, a middle, and an end, how are you developing the muscle and the strength to persevere? How are you seeing things? Or are you just avoiding? Remember, we talked about when the ego gets a hold of your truth, it will deny things that are right in front of you. It will romanticize things. You will come up with all kind of excuses as to why your truth is now different. Like, I believe in this project. I love this project. And halfway through, your belief in that thing has wavered. And now your attention and focus is somewhere else. Maybe you don't have the muscle in a core belief for yourself to finish. And just like that young person that I used to take care of, everything is a fantasy for you until the fantasy no longer feeds you, and it's on to the next fantasy and on to the next thing that sounds great and on to the next thing that sounds fun. Because reality has never been a place where you like to live. I don't know if y'all have been paying attention. It's really real out here. We have people who are dealing with real issues and feeling as though they don't know what to believe in. So I would say that developing your truth muscle, developing your faith muscle, it takes practice. Do you have something that you focus on every single day that is a part of who you are, that you know you would not be who you need to be without it? A place or a practice or something that you have to do. Because if you don't, then you don't feel imbalanced. And we're all running around trying to figure out, well, why do I feel so out of balance? Why are my thoughts so disordered? Why are so many things in my life unorganized? Because you're not building up your spiritual muscle to stay focused on any one thing. Where's your value? Where's your devotion? Where's your faith? Are you appreciating just how dynamic you are? That your truth, your belief system, your value system is guiding you. But you got to have one and develop one to be guided and believe in it. If we are going to believe in the invisible intelligence, how are we going to be connected to it if it's not something tangible? And so for many people, it's Sunday, no judgment. For many people, the tangible thing is going to a place of worship, participating in activities where you can feel something. That's great and wonderful. But what happened when the world shut down and we couldn't go to our places of worship? We couldn't gather with our friends. We still had to have that thing within us to sustain us. We couldn't participate in the way that we typically do. So if you couldn't join with other people, if you couldn't go to the building, if you couldn't be seen participating in these particular acts, does that mean that they don't exist or they just cease? Or does that mean that it was really what's going on in here all along? For all of us, the truth was disrupted 3 years ago. We thought we knew everything until COVID came and said, y'all don't know nothing. I'm about to show you who you are and what your truth is. How many of us came out of that experience with a new belief system and a new guiding system and new principles in our life? We had where I work, we had a exercise where we had to come up with our perfect day. And what was interesting to me, that I guess there were about maybe 30 of us in the room and everybody's going around and everyone's day is, their own. This is what I would like to do on my perfect day. And what was interesting to me is that some people would start with what they didn't want to do before they started with what they wanted to do. And as a spiritual life coach, I was like, that's interesting that you would start at the place you don't want to be when it's offered to you. You can create your perfect day. And the place that you entered into the conversation was all the things I don't want to do. So a lot of the negativity. That was very interesting to me. And when it was my time, I was like, listen, every day, and it sounds hokey, but I was like, every day is the perfect day if you choose it to be. If you make a concerted effort to say, it's going to be a perfect day. Now, perfect is relative to whoever is experiencing it. But for me, perfect is I'm breathing, I'm alive, I'm able to speak to people, I'm able to create experiences of love, I'm going to learn something about myself. Even when things are happening beyond my control, I'm going to learn something about Yolanda. And I consider that to be perfect, that I still, at this big age, get to learn something new about myself. To me, that is perfect. But that's a choice that I am making because it's part of my core belief that if I want my life to be a particular way, then I have to think, feel, and behave a particular way. I'm not perfect all the time. I'm not always looking at things in that way, but it's a lot more balanced than it used to be. And that is a truth for me, that I can control and that I can create the life that I desire. That is now one of my core beliefs. And I have the faith to support that because I've seen it happen. I'm not supposed to be this happy. I'm not supposed to be living this type of life. If I looked at all of the things that have happened, even in this age range from 35 to 65, I'm not supposed to be this happy. I'm not supposed to be glowing. I really should be a bitter woman, considering the things that I have seen and that I've experienced. But that was a choice that just wasn't going to work for me. It was going that way, but it wasn't going to work for me. And because of the recognition of that invisible intelligence that said, if you trust me and you tell yourself the truth, I promise you, you will see things differently. And I'm so grateful that I can see things differently, that my truth is aligned with the universal truth, that all things are happening in the way that they are intended to happen, even when I don't like the way it looks. I'm going to learn something. I'm going to see something. It's going to require me to be a version of me that I was created to be. And so my relationship with truth and faith, it wavers from time to time because I am human. I'm not superhuman at all, but I desire to have a supernatural experience. I am mindful that my human experience is temporary and that my spiritual existence is eternal. And that is a truth for me that I live by. And so, what truth are you living? What does your belief muscle look like? Is it strong enough to deal with the things that we all have to deal with in the way that we have to deal with them? Because what I'm dealing with does not equate to what you're dealing with, and vice versa. Or when they say we're all in the same boat, we are not all in the same boat. My boat looks a lot different than yours. We might not even be in the same waters. My waters might be choppy, your waters might be smooth. We are all living our own unique experience. And that requires us to create a core belief system, a value system that we can look upon as truth for us, that is supported by our faith. You can't have one without the other. I'm telling you, you can try, but if you go around believing particular things, and only once you have been given particular evidence of those things, and anybody could come up with anything, we've seen that in the past couple of years when everybody all of a sudden became a medical doctor and they're giving you, oh, COVID-19 comes from this and you got to do this and you got to do that. Everybody had papers and facts and figures that they were just creating. Where'd you get that from? The internet? But where'd you get that from? Some doctor who had his license revoked, and where'd you get that from? Some doctor who isn't even an epidemiologist. He just, whatever. We can all be given information that we based our truth on. But your core beliefs, if they don't have the element of faith that I have to have the faith that what I am placing all of my trust, my energy, my focus, and my time in, that there is an invisible intelligence that is guiding me. And it's not my ego. It's not what the people on the television tell me. It's not what my friends say. It's not what my family, even though they love me dearly. It is a knowing that is inherent to each and every single one of us. And please be mindful for anyone who wants to tell you that their guidance system is stronger or more finely tuned than yours. So you have to believe them. There are a lot of individuals, a lot of gurus. Sometimes they will, for whatever reason, jump in your DMs, be like, I got a message for you. Trust me, if my ancestors are trying to reach me, they are not going to be coming through you. They are not. I have a message for you, or I have some guidance or some wisdom that only I can give you. You have your own. We all have our own. And it's our responsibility to continuously develop it by practicing, whether that's through your prayer work, your meditation, your, devotion to reading the word, whatever it looks like for you. Develop it for yourself so no one else can come and push you to the left or to the right, so to speak. So you are not like some, wandering, mindless, brainless, please tell me what I'm supposed to feel. Please tell me what I'm supposed to think. Please tell me what I should believe in. You create that for yourself based upon that knowing that is already within you and based upon truth that is supported by your faith in the connection that we all have to a higher power. And so, as we are going through this week, and I am grateful that for whatever reason, all of those issues and energies of resistance that I was going through, where I was afraid of even speaking about this age range, and we're just touching the surface at this point. So many things have been revealed to me about my parents, about other family members, because as an adult, I can see things differently. Things that I held in my heart against people, I can see it differently. My truth looks a lot different. That I don't have to hold things against people who had experiences in their life that had nothing to do with me. And yet I wanted to hold them to a particular standard based upon things that I didn't even experience. I pray no one does that to me. That you think of me or you hold something against me when you haven't lived my life. You don't know what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, you know, what has happened to me, but you think you know. My experience is not yours and your experience is not mine, but we are all connected to one another. And I pray that we all give each other enough grace to understand that my truth is my truth and your truth is yours. And I don't have the right to impose my beliefs on you, and you better not try to impose your beliefs on me. But if we can find some common ground and some common sense, we may see that we're more alike than we are different. Because as I said earlier, you in my boat. My beloved said, you in my boat. You are in my boat. I want you in my boat. And I hope that we can see that even though we've all had different life experiences, different developmental experiences, things we got, things that we are still getting. Because one thing I know to be true for me, I'm still learning what my relationship with truth is and what my relationship with faith is. And I don't necessarily believe that I am being tested. Because to me, you give a test when you've given a lesson and you want to see if someone knows the lesson or not. I don't believe that I'm tested as much as I need to see just how much God has poured into me because I don't believe it. I don't always believe it. And so I don't think of it as a test. There are definitely lessons, but God has to reveal to me what God has already poured into me because I'm the one that's down here not believing. I'm the one that's resistant. I'm the one that's not always believing. I'm the one that whose faith is wavered. God's done more than what is necessary for me to believe. I have to do the rest. And so, as we are going through this week, thinking about what our relationship with truth is, what our relationship with faith is, I hope that at some point we can all take a deep breath and tell the truth and say, I have been poured into greatly. And my beloved and I were having this conversation just the other night where I said, no matter what has happened in my life, wherever I may have felt neglected or abandoned, God didn't do that to me. I have been poured into greatly. And I'm recognizing now in my life all of the places and spaces that I am loved well. I am grateful that I now recognize and I can perceive and stand on how much I'm loved. I get to interact with individuals who, even if their intentions are different, to me, it feels like love. I receive it in that way, and I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for it. I'm so grateful for it. And that is a truth for me. I am well loved. I am very well loved. And the fact that I get to exchange that with other people on a daily basis is all the evidence that I need that I have always been loved well, even when it didn't look like it, feel like it, sound like it, even when I wasn't believing it. God has always loved me well. And so let's take a deep breath and enter into one of those things that I talked about. You got to have a practice. I don't know what your practice looks like. I know my practice looks different because my needs are different on a daily basis. And the same may be true for you, where one day you feel like I need to be praying without ceasing for 3, 4, 5 hours. And then some days, I can get in with a 10-minute prayer or even a 5-minute prayer or just, I thank you. I thank you. Depending upon where my energy level is and what I may be experiencing at any given moment, I am asking the divine to reveal the truth to me as it is necessary for my well being. The psychological truth, the spiritual truth, the physical truth, all truths that need to be and shall be revealed to me in divine time. I am asking for openness and willingness to receive, openness and willingness to respond appropriately, and the faith to recognize I am always divinely guided, even when the ego is in the way. And I ask that when that is happening, whether I'm consciously aware of it or not, that perhaps I receive that tap on the shoulder, that kick in the behind, that grip around the neck, literally or figuratively, that will show me that my humanness is getting in the way of my spiritual nature. And I have enough muscle in my spiritual being to know that all things are happening for my highest good. God has always poured greatly into me, and I'm grateful that I am at a point in my life where I can receive it, see it, recognize it, affirm it, and declare it. May my relationship with truth and faith be as balanced as necessary. May I be open to recognizing when one is operating without the other. And may I have the courage to join them both together, even if it requires me to be a different version than the one that I am familiar with at any given moment. I'm all right with that. If I have to be a different me in order for my truth and my faith to be restored, then let me have the courage to do that. Let me enter into that. Because sometimes it takes great courage to have truth be in your face, be in your feelings. As people say, you in your feelings. Sometimes you have to be in order for the truth to be revealed. And sometimes you have to be in order for your faith to be restored. Sometimes things have to be dismantled, torn apart. Sometimes we have to be broken wide open for things to be restored. Because that ego can get in the way. Well, we just want to be right. We want to be right. We want to be right. We want to be right. And this isn't about being right. Truth isn't necessarily about being right. Truth is about seeing, hearing, believing, and knowing that something is being revealed for a purpose. Even in those moments when a truth has been revealed to me and it hurt me, I know that that was not the divine's intention for me to be hurt, but the hurt and the pain may have been necessary to get me to where I needed to be, if that makes sense. Our humanness will sometimes say, why is this hurting? Why am I being punished? Why am I being, and it's natural for us to think that way as humans. That when something that we don't like or that is uncomfortable happens to us, that somehow we're being penalized or punished. And it takes supernatural truth to see it differently, to say, I wasn't being punished, but man, that thing needed to hurt to get my attention. Because we can be hard headed. We can have lessons in our faith, face all day long. But until that thing smacks you, then you start paying attention like, whoa. And so I'm grateful for that universal truth that I am well and I'm well loved at all times. And it's something that sometimes we have to say to ourselves, to stop us from going down that road of creating chaos in our mind that isn't necessarily even living in our life, but we do that, we're human. That's what happens. But if you want more stability in your life, if you want more stability, balance, harmony, wholeness, then please practice truth, practice faith, and ask for it. There's nothing worse than saying, I want to know the truth. And then when the truth is revealed, you'll be like, I wish I didn't know it. You asked for it. Whether you consciously know you're asking for it or not, your body needs it. Our bodies our minds need the truth. We really can't operate without it. You can try to operate in a bunch of lies, it's not sustainable. And please appreciate who you are, that whatever is revealed to you, you do have the capacity to deal with it. Sometimes we sell ourselves short and say, well, if I knew all of that, I would fall apart. You might, but falling apart might be what's necessary for you to get where you need to be. I know that was true for me. And if I have to fall apart again, I have enough faith that I will be restored. That's not a threat. That's not a threat, or that's what I want to happen, but it is a truth. Because as I said, I shouldn't be this happy. I shouldn't be able to receive this much love. If you looked at, and I think any single one of us, if we thought about the worst day that we have had, and if you look at yourself now, you should be amazed that you were able to come out of that. That day you got that horrible news, that day you had faced that what seemed that impossible thing. The fact that you are still here, that your limbs have not literally fallen off of your body, and that you have not, just melted into a puddle into the street is evidence that you are more dynamic than you give yourself credit for. And so I hope you take that with you this week and recognize that as a truth for yourself. I should be a completely different human, and I'm so glad that I'm not. I'm so glad that that thing didn't break me completely. But if it did break me open, I'm grateful what is growing in its place. And so I'm thankful that whatever that resistance was that kept us from not having meditation last Sunday, Wednesday, and all of the other days, I'm grateful that that resistance is dissipating. I won't say that it's all gone, but it is dissipating, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful to be able to go into this week with a mindset of all things are working the way that they are supposed to. So even those moments when I was resistant, it was necessary for me to be able to recognize what that looks like. So when it happens again, I can say, no, not this time. And I hope the same is true for you. At any given moment, we can make a choice to say, I'm going to do this differently. I'm going to see it differently. Truth is going to be revealed, and my faith is going to sustain me. I got this, and I'm going to move forward. And I hope that that helps someone today. It is certainly helping me. As you continue to enjoy the rest of your Sunday, I ask that you will send some good vibes to one of my little birdies. My flight attendant birdie is in parts of the world that I would rather she not be in. As the world is in upheaval right now, she has a job to do, and I recognize and I understand that. So let's send her some good energy and some prayers as she is traveling east from the United States. I'll just say that. She's going into places that, well, her mama don't live there, so she's going into places that are not close enough for me. And let's send her some good energy so that she returns in the same way that I sent her out, in love. And I hope that this week for you is filled with a lot of truth and a lot of faith, and that if there is something that is troubling you, that you have the courage to stand on your faith and know that you are where you are supposed to be. You are being shown something that you need to see, and that you have the capacity. You absolutely have the capacity to experience it, deal with it, process it, and be restored. I love each and every single one of you. Thank you for watching. We'll be back next Sunday at 1 o'clock. I love you. Have a good evening and rest of your Sunday. Bye, beloved.